Hey guys, it's Eddie the Magic Monk. Welcome to another Phaser tutorial. We're going to start today by fixing a bug that I created from last lesson, and we will then continue on to making animations for our main menu. So you can see last lesson when I created the two states and the background music for the second state. So you can see from the main menu, when I press enter, there is a background music that starts, but then if I die, the background music is still there. So I want to get rid of that. So in state 2, what we need to do is where we die, we need to stop the music. So if you look for the function for when we kill the player, so we will go song dot stop, and that should stop the music when the player dies. So let's try that again. We press enter, and then the song starts, and if I die, the music stops. So that's good. So that's what we want. Otherwise, it'll keep creating new instances of the music, which is not very good. Okay, so now let's get to the point of this lesson, and that is our main menu is a little bit boring. We want to have a little bit of animation of our ship moving around on this main menu. So what we want to do is, firstly, we're going to insert our ship again. So in state 1, I'm going to create a variable called ship at the top. I accidentally typed that in initially, but it's not necessary. So let's just get rid of that. Because if you create a variable in the create function, it actually is automatically can be used anywhere in this state. So let's just load a ship animation, a ship sprite onto our level. So if you just go to level 2 and borrow the code for importing the ship. So that is this line here. We imported the ship. Okay, so let's copy and paste that line and put it inside state 1. So we have loaded the image for the ship, and then we can again copy the code for adding the ship to the level. So let's do that in the create function. And I'm just going to change the coordinates a little bit because, well, firstly, instead of calling it player, I'm just going to call it ship because I'm not actually playing it. So if I just type that and refresh, you can see a ship is sort of in the middle of the level. So I'm just going to move it to the left a bit. So I'm going to change the X and the Y coordinate to 80 for X and 320 for Y. So it's now over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by moving the ship to the right. Every single frame, it's going to move 2 pixels to the right. Okay, so that means in the update function for the main menu, I'm going to go ship.x plus equal to 2. And what that does is it increases the x coordinate of the ship by 2 units 25 times every second or something like that. So if I refresh, you can see the ship is going to the right consistently. Okay, but then it disappears. So how do we fix that? Well, let's say I want the ship to come back to the left after it disappears. Then I can add in a little if statement. I can say if the x coordinate of the ship is bigger, then the game's game.world.width, game.world.width. Oops. So if the x coordinate of the ship is bigger than the game's width, then I reset the x coordinate back to 0. Okay, back to 0. Oops. So let's see what happens when I refresh that. So the ship keeps going to the right, and when it hits the boundary, it goes back to the beginning. So it just keeps going on a loop. Okay, so let's talk about how we would do that if we want the ship to move the opposite way. So firstly, we would need, if we want the ship to move the opposite way, we would have minus equal to 2. Okay, so then if I refresh, it moves to the left. But if it's moving to the left, we also want to rotate the ship, don't we? So to rotate the ship, you would need to change that at the beginning here. So let's just say ship dot angle equals 180 degrees, right? 0 degrees is to the right, so 180 is to the left. So if you refresh that, it's facing the left, but then it disappears. So we need to say if the ship dot x is smaller than 0, then we set the ship's x coordinate to game.world.width. So now it's going back the other way to the left, and you can see it's a lot higher than it was before. And that is because when we rotated the ship, the anchor point is not in the center of the ship. So to fix that, we need to set the anchor of the ship dot anchor. And we actually did this in state 2 already, so we can just copy the code for that and move it to copy it to state 1 and change the player to ship, and that will set the anchor point to the middle. So you can see that it is a bit lower. So that is if we want the ship to fly to the left infinitely. But what if I want it to fly to the right when it is close to hitting the edge? Then I start flying to the left, and then when it's close to hitting the edge, I fly it to the right again. So if I want to do that, I need to set up another variable. Okay, let's call this variable animation ship underscore animation underscore segment. And originally it's 1. Okay, we're going to have 2 segments. So we're going to say if the ship animation segment is equal to 1, I want the ship to be moving to the right. Okay, and originally the angle is going to be 0, so I'm not going to touch that. Okay, so if I save that, refresh, because the animation segment is equal to 1, the ship keeps moving to the right. And then I'm going to add another condition. Okay, just let me fix up the indenting. So let's do a little bit of commenting. If the animation segment is equal to 1, ship moves to the right. Okay, so now what we wanted to do is if the animation segment is equal to 1, so I'm just going to copy this whole thing. If the animation segment is equal to 1 and the ship's x coordinate is bigger than the width of the whole level minus the width of the ship So when it is close to hitting the edge, okay, about one width of the ship away from the edge, I'm going to change animation segment to 2. So what happens if you change the animation segment to 2? If the animation segment is equal to 2, then the ship is going to start moving to the left. And obviously, if I do that, okay, it's going to start moving to the left, but then it's moving backwards. But I'm going to rotate it to make it move to the left, rotate to the left before moving to the left. So what I need to do is I need to set the angle of the ship. So originally the angle of the ship is 0, and now in the second animation segment the angle is 180 degrees. Okay, so now it moves to the right as it hits the edge of the screen. It should rotate the angle. Oops, there's a bit of error. It should rotate the angle and start moving to the left. Okay, so it rotates. Oh, what am I doing? Ship.angle, not angle.angle. Okay, so if I refresh that, it should nearly hit the edge and then start rotating to the left. And then I'm going to add in another if statement because it's just going to keep going past the left. So I'm going to say if the let's move the indenting a bit, fix up the indenting, and I'm going to say if the animation segment is 2 and the x coordinate of the ship is smaller than the ship's width. So what that means is the x coordinate of the ship is reducing to up to about here, which is about the width of the ship. Then it's going to turn around and move back to the right. So I'm going to set the animation segment to 1 again. So I don't need this little line. That little if statement is now not needed. So if I save and refresh, right, the ship is moving to the right, then it moves to the left, and then it's going to turn around and move to the right. Okay, so that concludes the end of the tutorial. I'm going to fix up the commenting of the code here and then put it on GitHub. If you haven't noticed, the code for this game is located on my website as well as GitHub. So on my website it is at magicmonktutorials.com/phaser/lesson12. So have a go at it. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.